Talk about.
Hi.
Rarely do you come in on a weekend where there are two huge movies open.
Two huge movies, both certified fresh. Yeah,
Big fresh.
Big fresh. And one of the great things about being in LA is that we get movies before the rest of the country. Lincoln doesn't open till next week in the rest of the country, but it's opening in 11 theaters. Half of those are here in LA, so we get to see it early, which is great.
And we should.
And we should. 93% on the tomato meter. Now, this is a story it's directed by Steven Spielberg. This movie's been in development for 10, 15 years. At one point, Liam Neeson was going to play Lincoln, but he aged out of the role, and so Daniel Day-Lewis was cast. And Daniel Day-Lewis does a great job here.
It is not a stretch to picture Daniel Day-Lewis as Lincoln.
Yes,
he's got the face to begin with,
and the height, and he's
Stature.
very slender.
And he's an incredible actor.
And he's great, and he does a really fantastic job here. Now, this movie really focuses on the 4 or 5 month process of approving the 13th Amendment, and so it really gets into kind of the
13th Amendment is the
anti-slavery, the end of slavery, the abolition, and it's a really interesting movie. It gets really into the kind of the political process, and one of the interesting things about Steven Spielberg making a movie like this is he can get anyone he wants to kind of play the bit parts. You've got, David Strathairn plays a pretty big role, and so does Tommy Lee Jones, but then you've got guys like Bruce McGill and James Spader and Tim Blake Nelson all playing relatively minor roles than in any other movie.
Are they going to say no?
Exactly, right? Like, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Spielberg
like maybe 10 lines
answer.
in this movie.
Yeah, so in this movie, it's Daniel Day-Lewis's movie, and there's Gloria Rubin, who was with us yesterday, and Sally Field. Tommy Lee Jones, I understand, is great in this movie, and this is based on the Doris Kearns Goodwin book, Team of Rivals. But his character is a made-up character, is that correct?
It's kind of an amalgamation of a few characters, is my understanding. Now, I like this movie a lot. I will say my problem, and it's probably because I'm a bit of a dope sometimes, I found that the language got a little hard for me to follow. So, unlike a lot of movies where I'll recommend, have a drink or two before seeing this, not
you have
this
to focus.
One. This one at times felt a little Shakespearean in that you kind of rely on the actors to sell the dialogue that you may not understand.
Is this like eating spinach? It's good for you?
No, actually,
or is
it'd be good spinach.
Okay, good spinach. Okay.
Spinach with butter
Fried
and cream in it.
And now here's a movie, unless you give it a good review, it's not going to do any box office. It's a James Bond movie.
Exactly. James Bond, Skyfall, directed by Sam Mendes. Daniel Craig returns for his 3rd James Bond movie. This is, I think, the 7th movie for Judi Dench as M. Javier Bardem plays the villain. I don't want to give too much away on this movie. All I'll say is that MI6, the organization that Bond works for, is under attack. I'm not going to say anything else because that would spoil it.
Don't say anything else.
What I will say is that they made a real movie out of James Bond, as opposed to everything else that's kind of been a popcorn movie. Not that there's anything wrong with that. They're great movies.
I hear this is getting such good reviews, especially compared to the last one.
Yes.
The Quantum of Solace.
Quantum of Solace.
Yeah. And that not only is you have all the action.
And there's Naomi.
There's Naomi Harris.
Yes.
But
she's
there's also
fantastic.
the twinkle is back a little bit, huh?
There is. I will say I came out of this movie having gone on an emotional journey that I had not expected out of a James Bond movie.
Wow.
It made me think of Batman Begins. Batman Begins, you come out of the movie and you think, oh my God, they made a real movie out of Batman. Same thing they do.
All right, you can catch them out on Rotten Tomatoes Radio and Sirius Radio Tuesdays at 4 and Thursdays at 3 on Sirius XM Radio. When we come back, why did Robin Sachs seriously get thrown out of the courthouse this week? Pardon me. And it's been one of the most talked about moments of election night. Karl Rove on Fox News Channel insisting that when Fox News Channel called the presidency to Barack Obama, insisting that maybe it wasn't right, maybe it was wrong. And it was an interesting, they call it Karl Rove's meltdown. We'll talk to Chris Wallace about it when we come back.
Good movies this week.
Yeah.
Did you learn anything about Lincoln
I learned a lot.
that you didn't know?
Yeah, a lot of that fun.